Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brian. You're here with us? Let me find my
Yep.
glasses. Hang on one second. Yeah, that's better. I can see you now. It's like, what am I missing? All right. Well, guys, this is the last day of training, so that's exciting. After today, everybody will have been trained and ready to start, which is exciting. We've had, just to let you know what Evelyn and myself have been doing all week. We haven't forgotten about you. Of course, I've been doing the trainings in the morning, but then really making sure that I follow you guys on Facebook and Google Plus and all that in the afternoons, answering questions from you guys, which has been great. I love the interactions that have been happening on Facebook. Evelyn has been going to a lot of meetings. And we met with Philip's teacher teachers. We got to meet with both of his teachers earlier this week on Monday? It wasn't, yes. Oh, it was Tuesday, yeah, sorry. This week has been a blur for me. And then today we're going to go and meet with Ashley's teachers, which is exciting, at Piedmont. So we're working to get you guys in as well throughout the week. We're just having a really difficult time getting teachers to commit, which I understand. I mean, it's understandable. They have in-service. They have to prepare their classrooms. I get it. But we're only asking for about 30 minutes. So it's just very difficult right now. So we haven't forgotten about you guys. We just wanted you guys to know that. So today's session is actually not going to be too terribly long at all. I would foresee us maybe taking 15-20 minutes. On the last day of training, we had two guest speakers come and talk to us. The first one was Tony Gravett, and he is, I've got his title on a slide in just a second. I cannot remember his title, but he works with audio-visual at JSU. So I want to say he's the director of audio-visual or something to that effect, but we'll see his title in a second. And he did a great presentation. It's available for you on the Google Drive. To basically show you everything you need to know about audio-visual. So because that is going to be a large component of what you will be doing, is we've talked that we will expect a little bit of you guys to kind of be a buffer between the teacher and the IT department. And so this will kind of help you guys bridge that gap. If they are having audio-visual problems in the classroom, that you guys can kind of step up to the plate and say, hey, I may have a fix for that. Let's look and see if this will work. So that's the real point behind today's session, is to give you guys an idea of what it's going to be like in the classroom. Okay, and then what we're going to do today is Evelyn is actually on a conference call while I'm doing this, and we have to meet Ashley's teachers at 10. So we will need to leave the campus by 9:30 to get there. So this session is not going to take long, and what we're going to do is we're going to record when we get back. I know, I'm sorry that we're like splitting your day up in half, but it really shouldn't be that bad. When we get back, we're going to have Evelyn record this session on wireless, because we did get Mark, who is in our office as well. He is over networking, so he is over the wireless landlines here on campus, so he is all about making sure everyone has access to the internet. So he did a great presentation with us, and so Evelyn, since wireless and networking is her background, she's going to actually just record a video. I'm going to edit it and put it on Facebook this afternoon. So we should be back. I would say that we would be back around 2:30. And I will try to get that video posted by 3:30. I'm going to say 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock, which all you have to do is watch the video. So you won't really have to do, because they didn't do any projects or anything around this. So today should be a very easy day. I'm sorry that we're going to have to do part in the morning and then you're going to have to follow up in the afternoon. I hate that I'm doing that because I'm one of these people that I like just get it over with at the very beginning and have the rest of my day. So I apologize for that. But that's the nature of the beast that we're dealing with here. So any questions on what you guys are expected to do for today?
No.
Okay, great. And like I said, it shouldn't take you, it really shouldn't take you that long to do this. So let's go ahead and get started with Tony's session. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and show you. There's our Facebook page. Yay. All right. So here inside the shared folder, you do have the training week 2. If you click on that folder, you'll have a document in here that says Tony Gravett notification notes, or sorry, presentation notes. If you give that a click, these are the presentation notes that I took for Tony when he was here last Thursday. And I tried to copy as much as I could. I tried to put the images in here as best as I could. He gave a great presentation discussing some of the main components to audio and video in a classroom setting and things of that nature. So this is here for you. These are just the notes. He was gracious enough to actually give us his presentation here. He's a huge Google Docs user, so he loves to share any information he comes across, so he gave us his presentation. So if you click on that link, you'll be able to see his presentation, which I already have open. Here's his contact information, and he opened it up. I didn't know he was going to do this, but he opened up his email to you guys if you have questions. So if you're out in the schools, you can actually directly call him or email him, and he said he'd be more than happy to talk with you about what's going on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into his session here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit present. Are you guys able to see this?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. Sometimes when it goes full screen, it may or may not work. It just kind of depends. So again, here he is, Director of IMS, which is Information Media Specialist, I think, is what IMS stands for. But there's his contact information. Started working with AV in 2003. He's been the director of the department since 2005. He has a bachelor's degree in finance, and he has a master's degree in secondary education. So he has been in the classroom before, which is awesome. One thing to point out is I've known Tony for a long time. My mom has worked at JSU since I can remember. She's been there since I was probably about 8 or maybe 10. So I've been around the JSU campus a lot, and I know Tony personally, and he's just a great guy. He is very welcoming to any questions that you may have. So please reach out to him if you have questions. Okay. All right. Instructional media, cables, and equipment. Okay, so this is when he starts talking a little bit about some just general rules of thumb for different things. And he says a person with 20/20 vision can see 30-point font from 50 feet away on a 55-inch HD TV. So the TVs that we were working with in that room upstairs, I believe they were probably bigger than 55, actually, now that I think about it. But if I were to throw 30-point font up there, more than likely you're going to be able to see that. So he just wanted to kind of mention that. HD TVs should be mounted at about 6 feet to the 6 feet to the center of the screen. One thing, and we were talking about this, and we'll go into this a little bit at the end of the presentation, is your teachers are going to probably ask you what setup they should have for their audio visual. That's just going to be one of your questions. Remember, your teachers get $500 plus $2,100. So this first year they're going to get $2,600 that they can spend on whatever technology they feel they need in their classroom, which is awesome. Next year they won't get the $2,100, but they will get the $500 again. So they're going to have this for the next 2 years. They're going to have this money that they can use. If they do not already have a projector, which some schools will, some schools won't, you really will cross that bridge when we do your meet and greets. Your job will be also to recommend, now you can't tell them what to spend it on, but they will probably ask you, or if you see something that could be improved with that money, you could just mention, hey, have you thought about doing this? HD TVs we'll look at in a second are a great option for your video in the classroom, and we'll go into the reasons why in a second. So that's why Tony kind of brings it up here and says, oh, well, this is some rule of thumb when you're working with televisions in the classroom. Okay, and you can get HD TVs now relatively cheap. They've gone down in price drastically, especially in the past year or so. LED TVs, LCD TVs, the prices on those are going down, which is good for educators. Okay. Instructional, these are just some troubleshooting steps that Tony goes into. If, for whatever reason, let's say that I'm a teacher and you come in the classroom and I say, oh, Melissa, my projector is not working. Could you please help me? I can't get my iPad to display on my projector. Can you please help? this would kind of be your workflow. You would first make sure that the projector has power, and I think that's kind of very basic, but it does happen. It happened to me. So it was, I'd say, my second month in the classroom. I had a, and again, I taught 9th through 12th graders, so they were wonderful and always well behaved and never wanted to play jokes on me. So I had my 9th grade class. It was mostly 9th graders, and one of the computers, the display stopped working. I was like, oh my gosh, the display's not working. So I went over to it and I pressed the power button, and I was kind of in the rush of, I've got to get everybody else situated. I can't really deal with this right now. Why don't you partner with someone else? Put in a help desk ticket with our IT department. They came out, and again, I worked in the IT department before I was a teacher, so they know me really well. And they told me that I would eventually get what they called teacher brain, where you just go stupid just because you have so much other stuff that you're trying to remember to do, that you will kind of lose your sanity. And sure enough, I had teacher brain, because the first thing they went over to the monitor and did was plug the power cable back into the monitor, where I didn't even think to check that because I was trying to do, 50 million other things. So you will have teacher brain, and it's totally okay. It's normal. It's kind of like, they call it mom brain, pregnancy brain, what have you. You've just got so much going on that sometimes you don't think things through. And that's the first step, is check the power, because I can attest that the teacher may not think, while you may think, oh, that's duh, why wouldn't you check the power first? They may not have thought to think that first. So always check your power cable. Make sure power cables are plugged into the device itself and into the wall, and make sure that the outlet that you're working with has power, because sometimes, you may have two outlets, two receivers on the outlet. The top one stops working and the bottom one's fine. So plug them into both. Make sure you've totally exhausted the power option, okay? The second thing that you're going to go into are the cables. Are you using the correct cables for the job at hand? Is this particular cable, is it a digital cable or is it an analog cable? Those types of questions. And we're going to go into those in just a second. And then finally, your configuration. One of the things is that sometimes, cables, if you have your computer in one area and you run an HDMI cable and you're going too far for too long, you can see some degradation in the quality of video. HDMI cables can only go for so long. So that would be something else to consider when you're looking at cables, is the configuration. So again, we're going to go through those here in just a second. Okay. All right. First, and again, this last part, Tony just basically has every single cable you can imagine that you would probably need. So I'm really glad that he let us use his presentation, because what I was doing is going out and finding these, but he's already done the work for us. So the first thing that you're probably going to do, and let's think about our purpose. Our purpose with the iPads is you have a 4th generation iPad. Yes, you have a 4th generation iPad, and your connector is this one in the middle, which is a lightning connector. Okay, that's called a lightning connector, and if you were to hardwire this to a projector, you can do several different options. Okay, the middle one here is the iPad 4th generation. Now the one that he's showing is a lightning connector to an HDMI. Okay, if your projector has an HDMI port, that's fine. You can use this cable. This is the cable, though, that you would primarily use if you were hardwiring it to a television, to an HD TV. Okay. There's another cable you can get, which is a lightning to VGA, and that would be one that you would maybe hook up to a monitor or a projector, because some projectors don't have HDMI. You may have an older projector. Okay, we're going to get to that. For their MacBook, it's the same, kind of situation. You're going to have a what we call, it's not a lightning, it's called a Thunderbolt. I know that's very confusing, but it's the Thunderbolt cable, and actually I have one right here that I will show you. Let me take my Thunderbolt cable off of my monitor. So my setup here, I'm in Evelyn's office for a little while, just until my office is ready. But because we've been working so closely beside each other, it does not make sense My office is actually all the way over in Ayers Hall, and we're over here in the telephone center, so it's like a 15-minute walk, and it just hasn't made sense for us to move out of her office yet. So on the MacBook, you're going to see this port here. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up. So this is on the right-hand side. You have this port up here, and this is called the Thunderbolt, and I know it's very confusing, and everything's reversed on my screen too. So I know it's very confusing because it has a lightning on it, so it's not a lightning cable, but it's a Thunderbolt, okay? Which I don't understand because thunder is the sound, not the lightning, but whatever. Apple knew what they were doing apparently. Okay, so this is the actual adapter that you will need to hook the MacBook Air up to a projector if it does not have HDMI, or to hook the MacBook Air up to another monitor, and that's what I have here. So you have the HDMI here, or I'm sorry, Thunderbolt here, so that's Thunderbolt, that's what it looks like. And then on this end I have VGA, okay, which is the trapezoid type connector. And that's going to be basic connector for almost anything. For a monitor is going to be VGA, projectors are going to be VGA, they may have DVI and those types of things. So, but that one's a good one to have to go ahead and recommend that the teacher may purchase with some of her money is this particular adapter. This adapter through Apple runs probably, I'm going to say in the range of $40 to $50 for this little adapter. It may be $39. I'm trying to remember the price on those. It's been a long time since I've purchased one. So that would be the adapter to get the computer hooked up to a projector. Okay, I'm going to jump right back over here. Any questions so far about that section? And if you guys have questions, please speak up because I'm just going to keep on rambling unless you stop me.
And that was the Apple Thunderbolt adapter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, it is the Thunderbolt to VGA adapter. And again, that would be a good one to recommend that your teacher have in their handbag, or in their computer bag. So, okay. Now, on here we do have another cable. The first cable you see here is the iPad first generation and second generation. That was before the Thunderbolt, or I'm sorry, before Lightning came out. This is what we call a 30-pin adapter. It's that long one that has been on Apple devices since I can remember. And the reason why we included that and why I wanted to mention this one is because you may be in a bring your own device situation, or the teacher may already have some classroom iPads, and that would be the adapter that they would need. Okay, so just know that they're going to be different adapters, and that starts with the first generation and the second generation. Okay. And this is a little bit of a closer look at that Lightning adapter. So again, this allows you to mirror the screen of your iPad, iPhone, or iPod Touch on an HDMI-equipped TV, display, projector, or other compatible display. And again, that is the HDMI port there on the other side. Okay. Now, the thing that you're seeing beside it, so the other little port there on this adapter is for power. So that would be where if you're plugging it in to watch a movie, you can also plug in power so that your iPad isn't draining power while it's displaying. So, all right. This is the mini DisplayPort input and HDMI output. So again, this would be what your teacher would use to hook the computer up to an HD TV. Okay. Mini DisplayPort / Thunderbolt, it's the same cookie. So they're just named different things. Okay, this looks very confusing, but this is a great resource to have that gives you the name of the different ports and the different types of cables. So the ones that you're going to primarily use are going to be HDMI over on the far right, and then the two down below, which are VGA and DVI. Okay, you also may have to have an audio cable, which with the cables we've talked about thus far, they pull both audio and video. This would be in a situation where, let's say, it's just pulling video. Okay. All right. These are just basic RCA cables. We've all seen those before. And these are called composite. These are the composite cables. Then you have a stereo 3.5 millimeter or mini headphone, and the way you can tell it's stereo are the 2 black bands on the end of it. And why that's important is, let's say for example, your teacher created a video and they use stereo sound, and you know, with stereo it's 2 channels. You have your left channel and your right channel. Well, let's say that she did a video and the voiceover is coming out of the right channel. Okay, well, if they use a mono headphone jack, which is just going to have the 1 black band at the end of the headphone jack, then the voice is only going to come out of one side, and that may not be the right-hand side. So Tony gave that exact example where he was doing a presentation. They didn't have any stereo headphones. They just had mono headphones, and wouldn't you know that they had recorded it in stereo. So they didn't get the voiceover like they were supposed to. So you want to make sure, I would always just look for stereo. I'd never do mono. I don't know why mono even exists. All right, and then that's the one that he's talking about that's a mono. It just has the one jack on it. Okay, these are audio cables. This would be if you're going out to speakers. Most speakers have these cables where you have the stereo headphone jack on the far left, and then the red and the white for the left and the right channel. Okay, guys, I'm going to breeze through some of these because a lot of these that he included we will probably never ever use. I just want to make sure you know the Apple cables and how to hook your iPad up to different scenarios, okay? All right, we don't need to do that. I don't know why you would need a super VGA, but there it is. If you needed a VGA cable there. No. Okay, this would be something that you would need. If you are in a situation where, let's say your teacher, you go into your classroom and you're looking at the different options and your teacher says, you know what, I would really like to have an Apple TV in my classroom, but all she has is a VGA projector, okay? This is what you will need to hook that Apple TV up to the projector. This is a VGA to HDMI adapter. So what it's going to do is it's going to take the HDMI signal from the Apple TV. You would plug the HDMI cable directly to the Apple TV. It's going to run it through the little box, and it's going to output as VGA. Okay. Now notice that you also have another port on that adapter, and that is for your headphones. So that's where you would put a stereo cable. Okay. So that is how you will hook an Apple TV up to an older projector. Okay. Any questions on that little ditty there? No?
No.
Okay. And like I said, that's for, you know, working in Oxford, every classroom has an Apple TV. They just have one Apple TV, but it's still a lot of Apple TVs, and that's what they had to use on some of their older projectors that didn't have HDMI. They would have to get this little piece of equipment, and I'm not sure of the price. I can look up that price for you if it comes down to it. We don't need that. We don't need that. Okay. You can get a high-speed HDMI cable. It's just going to be a better quality. There you go. That's basically all it is. So you can click on that little link if you're interested. This was Redmere Technology. This was a superior HDMI cable, and I cannot remember why it's superior. It's in my notes. If you go through and you look at this presentation and have my notes pulled up beside it, I took better notes than I did looking at his presentation. I can't remember. It's been, you know, forever ago. It was a week. So this is something that's interesting that you may need to look into. This is a port saver. Basically what this does is if your school has an HD TV and they have mounted it flush with the wall, basically what this does is instead of having the cable come out and kind of bend and go down and have the cable stick out a little bit, what this does is it actually just plugs into the port on the TV, and it puts it at an L where you can actually put the cable flush with the TV, which is kind of cool. So you may need to look at doing something like that. TV carts. Pretty self-explanatory. Most TVs, if they're going to be in a shared classroom, because you have to share technology sometimes, he just went over different carts. We know about the iPad. We know about mirroring. Shows us how to mirror. And then this is something that's really cool. This is called AirServer. So what AirServer does, or is that what... Okay, this isn't AirServer, but this is something that reminded me of AirServer. AirServer will actually allow you to have content from your MacBook stream to your Apple to your iPads and vice versa. If you're a teacher and you want to show something to your student iPads, you can actually stream and do AirPlay, per se, from a MacBook to an iPad, which is really cool. And that's called AirServer. And it does cost, I think it's about $20, but you can actually stream from a MacBook to an iPad or from an iPad to a MacBook. So there would be no Apple TV involved. Okay? So that's pretty neat. So I would look up AirServer is what that's called. All right, of course we know the Apple TV. Okay, Apple TV is $99, and it's this little bitty black box that sits behind your television. And you guys may not have even seen an Apple TV because they had them hidden in every classroom we went into during training. But this is the Apple TV. It's just this little bitty box. You go in, and that's it. You just hook it up to HDMI. There's very little configuration. We were talking about one of the things that you would want to configure is a passcode to join the Apple TV. So, you know, when we were in training, I could see everyone's Apple TV, and all I had to do was just say mirror, and my iPad was on their screen somewhere in the building. The way Oxford had them set up, and the way that I would recommend having them set up, is that you would include a passcode on the Apple TV, so that when I would go in and I would, you know, let's say that I want to share my iPad to a projector or to an Apple TV, I would put that, you know, type on that number. Sorry, these Facebook notifications are distracting me. I would tap on the number of the TV that I wanted, and then on the TV it would come up with a 4-digit passcode. I put that passcode in on the iPad, and it lets me mirror. So I would highly recommend that if your teacher is doing the Apple TV route, that they have a passcode in place. Okay, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. All of these are going to be different HDMI switches. This is going to be where you can hook more than one HDMI device up at a time, which would be fancy. This is a cool piece of technology. This is a digital wireless HDMI transmitter and receiver. So you hook this into your computer, okay? You put the other end to your TV, and you can wirelessly send the signal to your television, which is really cool. And these are the different feet that it works to. So for $160, it goes 30 feet. For $250, it goes 160 feet, which is really neat. So that would be something. A wireless keyboard is not a bad option to have. This is one that Tony recommended mainly because it has a trackpad that you can actually use as the mouse as well. So it's a built-in. So if they want to, you know, if they're streaming from their MacBook up to their television, they can walk around with this keyboard in their hand instead of the MacBook. This is a USB wireless remote. It's a pointer. It controls PowerPoint, and it has a laser pointer as well. He also recommended a wireless mouse is not a bad idea as well. Speakers, having different speakers in the classroom. The speakers that come with most projectors are pretty decent, but you may want to have speakers as well. And again, guys, if this pertains to anything on your classroom when we get into your classroom, you can just ask us and we can refer to this presentation, or you know, we can recommend a setup for your teachers. It just depends. This is the part that I wanted you guys to look at. So this is the cost of projection, and these numbers, Tony said, are a little bit older because this was a few years ago that he was doing a presentation when they were trying to decide on projectors here for JSU. But what he did is he found the price of a projector. So this is NEC M260X. So he found this projector, and it has 2600 lumens, which is the brightness of the projector, so how bright it goes. So it goes to 2600 lumens. The light life is 2500 hours. The literature that he found on this item said it was 5,000. He said absolutely not that it would be 5,000, and it gives a different connection. So this will give composite video, which is the red, the yellow, and the white, DVI, VGA, and I'm assuming HDMI, but it's cut off. So what he did to get the 56 cents per hour is he divided 800 by the amount of hours that it has, and it's so basically it costs 56 cents per hour to run that projector. Okay, so keep that number in your mind, and we're going on to this next one. Now this next one is a Panasonic PTRW330. Okay, Retails for $2,500, and again, this was a few years ago. He calculated the lighting per hour to be 11 cents. They got the quote for $21.93 because they're an education institution. The light life on this is 20,000 hours because it's an LED laser and it's combined light source. So that's where you're getting the 20,000 hours. So it's 11 cents. Okay. Here's another option, which obviously is the better option. You're going to look at an HDTV, and this may be if they don't have a projector in the classroom, I would recommend them getting a television because of this reason here. Retails for about $700, and this is an LCD TV, so it's older technology, but it's still great. $700 for the television, $45,000 or $45,000 hours of light life, and this was from Jeffrey Morrison of CNET. So he said it's going to be in the range of 30 to 60 depending. So that's a lot of hours, and he calculated that at 2 cents per hour. So obviously an HDTV is a better option for most schools because they're cost efficient, they're energy efficient. Most of our HDTVs now have, you know, they're energy certified, so they're energy efficient, cost efficient, and they're versatile too. You can hook a DVD player up to this and those kinds of things if you wanted a full multimedia solution in a classroom. Okay. So any questions so far on the differences between projectors and televisions?
No.
No? I know this is a lot of information, so I am so sorry. Okay, and so those are just some links to his presentation. So I'm going to back out of this. And again, here are the notes for this presentation. And again, for each type of cable that he mentioned, I wrote some notes down for it, okay? All right, I'm going to jump back to where I can see you guys. There you are. Okay, so let's talk quickly, because I'm going to head out here in about 5 minutes, about how you would hook this Apple TV, or how you would hook the iPad up or the computer up, okay? Several different scenarios. The first thing I would do if I were you, when you walk into the classroom, is we'll look for a projector. You then want to look and see what kind of projector. What are the ports on that projector? Does it have HDMI, which is better quality? That's what you want, but they're more expensive, and so most schools probably don't have those particular projectors. So then you would look, okay, does it have VGA? If it has VGA, awesome. Then we can, you know, that's very industry standard, so we can work with that. If it has DVI, we can work with that as well. Okay, so we want to see what type of projector, we want to see what age the projector is, the quality of the projector, and make recommendations based on that. If we are just going to physically hook the iPad up to, so I'm not going to use any kind of streaming service, I want to hardwire, which means plug it in with the cables. I want to hardwire this Apple TV to a projector. You're going to need the Lightning to VGA or the Lightning to HDMI, whichever one of those cables. Okay. Now, the benefit of that is it's going to pull audio, so you don't really need any audio cables at that point. Okay, so that would be scenario one. Scenario two is that, let's say that they have a television. Okay. In that situation, then you would use the Lightning cable. Again, the Lightning to HDMI would be the option, and you could hook it straight up to the television. Okay. Any questions on those two scenarios? So that's hardwiring the iPad to a projector and a television.
And we're going to check all that out once we
Yes, we will look at their yeah, when we that's what we've been doing. We did that with Philip. We just kind of glanced at the projector, see what state it's in, you know, how are you going to do that? So we will look at the technology and see what the setup would be like in the classroom.
Okay.
Okay. All right. The next option, of course, is they could purchase an Apple TV with their $2,100 and hook it up to a television or a projector so that they could stream. Okay. That would be the other option. And again, you know, you're just going to have to see an Apple TV is $99. Some of these cables are going to run you about $30 each. Depends on where you purchase them from, what brand they are, etc. Okay? All right. Any questions on that?
No.
Oh, okay. Moving on to the MacBook. Okay, so again, what you need for the MacBook is it has a Thunderbolt or a mini DisplayPort. Those are interchangeable. They mean the same thing. I don't know why we had to make it difficult, but we did. So it's a Thunderbolt or a mini DisplayPort, and you can do that out to HDMI or VGA as well. Okay? And that's it. That's it, guys. Any questions?
When you go to set up the Apple TV, does it give you the option once it's all hooked up to do the passcode then?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't pop up and ask you, do you want to set up a passcode? You do have to go into settings
Okay.
and go and put in that passcode. And we can walk you through how to do that if your teacher is setting up an Apple TV. We can absolutely help you with that.
Okay.
Good question. I don't think there's anything else. Just remember what I would do in the next 10-15 minutes is just go back to the shared drive, pull up both documents that we went over today, both my notes from Tony's presentation and then Tony's presentation itself. Pull those up and just kind of look at some of the other adapters he had on there. Again, I skipped a lot of the adapters just because I don't foresee everyone using those adapters. You may have a one-off situation where you would need that, and we can help you and guide you through that if that comes to it. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Brian, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much. And again, I will let you know when we post the second half of this training, which is going to be the wireless. And we will post that onto Facebook or on our, I'll link it to our YouTube channel probably is what I'll do. I'll post it on YouTube and then just post a link to it. So, all right. Thank you guys so much also for your participation on the Facebook group. It's been wonderful. I really appreciate that. So, okay. Well, you guys have a great day, and we will see you soon, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.